Hey, I hope you're having a blessed day. So, I had a little chat with AI. This is the Gemini app, AI app for Google, to find out what the likelihood of Turtleboy being found not guilty or guilty on his charges. So, Turtleboy is Aiden Kearney, I think is how his name is pronounced. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'll just call him Turtleboy. But anyways, he has a whole slew of charges. He was like kind of an activist and was advocating and rallying the troops, if you will, in the Karen Reed trial. And anyways, so he got hit with some charges. I have not read the charges. I don't know all the situations. I know like just a tiny bit. So anyways, I want to talk about, there's different types of charges. The witness harassment was unlawful picketing to influence the witness, and then there was some recording charges. So I just want to just kind of briefly cover that. So, I'm trying to do this with my phone, so I apologize. So it says, Turtleboy is facing multiple charges primarily related to witness intimidation in connection with his coverage of Karen Reed murder trial. He faced charge for violating an abuse prevention order, which he was recently acquitted. Here is a breakdown of the factors influencing the likelihood of him being found not guilty on his remaining charges, of which he had 16, I think, of intimidation of witnesses, and I think a few of those was dismissed. Anyways, witness intimidation. The most significant set of charges he faces, prosecutors allege he harassed multiple witnesses in the Karen Reed trial. Because witnesses, even though the world pretty much thinks that they're guilty and they shouldn't be witnesses, they should be defendants, they're still protected because they're classified as witnesses in the Karen Reed trial. And including organizing protests outside their homes and posting their personal information online. Some of these charges have been dismissed by a judge due to insufficient evidence, but a significant number remain. Unlawful picketing to influence a witness. This charge is related to the alleged rolling rally protest outside witness homes. Conspiracy to intimidate a witness. This charge suggests he acted with others. I don't know who those others are. People maybe he was with, but I know that they were trying to put Karen Reed in that, like she was a part of it, and I think part of that was they were trying to bring that up in the trial, is like trying to like make her look even worse of a person, like she not only killed our fans, she harasses us too, and just, what I mean, and they did try to bring that up in the trial. So anyways, but nonetheless, here we go. So, conspiracy to intimidate a witness. So, violation of abuse of prevention order. Found not guilty on that one. That was from something from December 2023. Factors influencing the likelihood of acquittal. The nature of the charges. Witness intimidation. Seriousness. It's considered a serious offense. Undermines integrity of the judicial process. It can lead to severe penalties, prison sentences, fines. The key element is intent for the prosecution to prove that he intended to influence or obstruct witness testimony. I don't know how. I think he was wanting them, like, I don't know if he was like in their face saying, they need to confess or something like that. I don't know. I have not read the charges or the details or how they're laying the elements of the statute versus facts. Anyways, I'm just telling you what AI is saying. His defense may argue his actions were protected by First Amendment as journalism, or that he lacked necessary intent to intimidate. The judge has already rejected his First Amendment argument as a blanket defense, but the specific intent for each charge will be crucial. So there's intent and there's specific intent, right? So circumstantial evidence. Prosecutors often rely on circumstantial evidence in witness intimidation cases, like recorded conversations, electronic communications, and actions taken like organizing protest or doxing. Which I will say, currently I see harassment of the jurors. There's actually there's a live stream going on right now. Some of the comments that I saw, they were being abusive. They were targeting a specific juror, making false and wild accusations, spreading rumors and slander, basically saying there was like a rigged juror, some kind of just making stuff up with no proof whatsoever, and but spreading rumors to try to, just this desperate attempt to try to overthrow the verdict of Karen Reed. So attacking and targeting specific juror. They were saying very rude things about the lady that is originally from Brazil. She's an American citizen, and she's been here for like 15 years, and they know everything about her, and the jury board are able to state, and the defense knew everything about her, her career, what her job is, and so forth. But harassing somebody like that, if they're not able to prove, to back up their rumors, they could actually be charged federally. Like if she and other people were to file a complaint with the FBI that this group of people is harassing, kind of like doxing them online, hosting live streams to put clips. I mean, she went out and she spoke to the media, and the media asked her, "Why are you coming out?" She says because people were saying things online that wasn't true, and she asked the media to please stop saying those things, just making up stuff about the jurors. She's like, please don't do that. And I felt like the media started that. The media was, she said, she didn't say the source, but there was somebody who was lying. Okay, so that's kind of like the same thing. Jurors are protected and witnesses are protected. So, anyways, I think if they're just out there making stuff up about a juror, I just kind of hope they get charged, But I think they're weighing on that right now, whether they're not going to charge them. So, anyways, but there's complaints going on right now that they're criminally harassing a juror. Anywho's, moving right along. So, there's just certain statutes and laws that protect people who are involved in a case, right? So, 10 of the initial 16 charges were left intact, with the judge noting that there was sufficient probable cause. So, he's got a recent acquittal on a restraining order. His defense strategy, lack of intent, is mentioned, arguing that he did not intend to intimidate, but rather just the reporter expressed his opinion. First Amendment protection. I don't know if he appealed that stuff. Anyways, well, broadly, sometimes you can do it's kind of a catch-22. Sometimes you can. I would have moved if it was me and I was doing what he's doing and I was charged. I would have filed a lawsuit and I would have removed it to federal court. But anyways, that's me. Anyways, challenging evidence. His attorneys will scrutinize the prosecution's evidence, looking for inconsistencies, illegally obtained evidence, or lack of direct proof of intimidation. Now, I think that the recording laws are going to be probably the most serious. Anyways, hard to fight. All these charges are serious, but I don't know about the witness intimidation. Publicity and high-profile nature. The Karen Reed trial and his involvement have garnered significant public attention, understatement. This can cut both ways. It may lead to increased scrutiny from the court and public, but it can also raise awareness for his defense argument. Overall likelihood, given that some charges have already been dismissed and he secured an acquittal on a separate charge, it suggests his defense is actively and at times successfully challenging the prosecution. However, witness intimidation charges are serious. So are intimidating and harassing a juror also. 18 U.S.C. 1503. People don't want to read that before you start rumor milling. Because people are like, but this is freedom of speech. I can see what I want about the jury. Not if you're, having a bunch of people, gang up and, parading, going to town halls and ostracizing that person in the community and spreading lies and slander and just making stuff up and putting the clips of her and saying all kinds of things. But there were some people, they were just calling her an illegal, just talking about her like she wasn't a U.S. citizen. Just crazy stuff, right? Anyways, I won't even go and repeat the things that was being said, but not all of them were, but yeah. Anyways, I think there's a valid complaint there. Anywho's, given that some charges have already been dismissed and he's securing acquittal on a separate charge, it suggests his defense is actively and at times successfully challenging the prosecution. However, these charges are serious, and a judge has already found sufficient probable cause for a number of the remaining charges, rejecting his First Amendment claims. Ouch. It is possible to give a definite... It's not No, it's impossible to give a definitive likelihood percentage as the outcome of trial depends on specific evidence presented and jurors, of course. The effectiveness of legal arguments and the jury or judge, if he does a bench trial, interpretation. Which I don't know which one he's doing. I don't know. I haven't read the case. However, the fact that he has already had some charges dismissed indicates that the path to a not guilty verdict on at least some of the remaining counts is plausible, but certainly not guaranteed, particularly for the charges where the judge found probable cause. The prosecution still has a significant case to make on remaining witness intimidation conspiracy charges. Then I asked, because interesting, AI didn't bring this one up. I had to ask separately, which I guess it's just collecting stuff that's said online, which basically the media, I'm going to cover that in a minute. The recording one, I don't think that many people are talking about, but the charges against him, I think because most everybody's talking about witness intimidation because it was brought up in trial, of course, which is heavily live streamed. What about the charges against him for recording others without their consent, violating Massachusetts law on the all-party consent statute? You've hit on a critical point regarding his charges and the legal landscapes in Massachusetts, which is indeed an all-party consent state when it comes to recording conversation. That means that with the very limited exceptions, it's illegal to secretly record any conversation. Now, see, it uses the word secret, but basically, it's a consent. It's a consent statute, which some states, even if they're aware that you're recording them, if they don't say, I'm okay with that, you can be charged. And I'm not sure what the specifics is on Massachusetts statute, but it's using the word secretly, so I'm really not sure about that. But it's an all-party consent, meaning you can't just record somebody. In the state I live in, I can record anybody I want. If you call my home, I can make that choice to do that. But it also, in the state of Massachusetts, you can't even record them in person without their permission. I just hate that. I'm just like, because most in places in the country, you can, like, people are out there, especially when it comes to cops, and people got their dash cam on in the car and they're getting pulled over and stuff like that. They be recording, just to protect themselves, You know how people are everywhere, cameras right everywhere you see. We're cops, especially on them protests and all them cops out there. Everybody's got their phone out, but not in Massachusetts. It's not like that there. Anyways, moving right along. Charges related to recording. Reports indicate he faces charges including intercepting wire or oral communication, which directly relates to the wiretapping law. Now that, too, I think, is not like he's spying on them, because it just, recording without consent falls under that statute. It doesn't mean that he's wiretapping. It just falls under that statute. So these charges stem from allegations he recorded individuals, including women in Medfield, without their consent, and subsequently posted edited versions of these recordings online. And I think, like, if you're live streaming and you call somebody and they're like, I don't want to talk to you, stop calling me, and then hang up and you call them back, then yeah, that's actually two different charges. You're recording without consent, and then you're disclosing that. So that's actually two different charges. But if they know you're recording, and I think, like, if anybody is talking to him on the phone, they know who he is, they know he's recording. To me, that seems like an implied consent, which is, I think, a pretty decent argument. Anyways, I haven't followed his case to know how his attorney's arguing or anything like that. Police search warrants have also sought evidence related to allegations that he illegally, now this is more serious, intercepted oral communications from various individuals connected to the Karen Reed case. And I think they were just trying to put that out there, I could be wrong, to bring that up in her trial, to make her look worse, right? But damn luck. Anyways, Massachusetts all-party consent law. The broad scope is very broad, applies to conversations held in private and even in public locations, which that's the part of the statute I hate, if the recording is secret. Because, like, in my state, oh my gosh, this guy was, he was a media person. He was recording, and then he left and went to the bathroom, and he didn't know his recorder was still recording, but it did. And these people was talking about lynching black people, and he caught that on his recorder. Can you imagine the outrage? Talking about some protest. That was bad. Yeah. I think we need the right to record, yo. Anywho's, I advocate for it. Disclosure and use. Even disclosing or using the contents of illegally obtained communications is a misdemeanor. So that part where if he was, like, live streaming and calling people, then that would be, that part would be a misdemeanor. Secret is the key. The law specifically targets secret recordings. If all parties are aware a recording is taking place, to me that's implied consent. Like, if you know you're talking to somebody and he's going to be recording, right? I guess. I think implied consent has been argued in different states, so it depends on cases. It's already been argued in this particular state. And if I remember correctly, I think when these charges first came in, I think I remember researching some federal court cases that went up to the higher federal courts, and it actually was a benefit. I'll have to look through that video that I did. I think I have some cases that might actually help his case. Federal cases that basically kind of struck down part of Massachusetts law. Now it's coming back to me. I'll have to look that up. Impact on Turtleboy's likelihood of not guilty verdict. Clear legal standard. Unlike the witness intimidation charges where intent can be complex, all-party consent law in Massachusetts is relatively straightforward. If you secretly record someone without their consent, you're likely in violation. Evidence recordings. Given his... Now, this is where it's like collecting data of stuff online. And so I had to ask... I had made a comment to this AI about slanted media. That's an interesting response, too. Given his history... Now, this is where they're collecting data, which could be from slanted media sources. Given his history of posting videos and audio recordings of his interactions with people, there is likely direct evidence of these recordings. The key for prosecution would be to prove these were made secretly without consent of all parties. I don't know, because if it's a he say, she say, you know, I mean, if it's recorded call, I mean, everything's going to be recorded. It's either going to be that if they gave consent, it's going to be in the recording, you know what I'm saying? Okay, no journalism exemption, which was overlapping with witness intimidation. The act of secretly recording witnesses could be to harass, could be used to harass them, could be seen as intertwined with the witness intimidation. Challenges for the defense, proving consent, they have to demonstrate non-secret recording. Conclusion on the recording charges related to the recording without consent appear to be some of the more legally challenging ones for him to defend against, which, yeah, is pretty much what I said. Given the strict nature of Massachusetts all-party consent law and apparent evidence of his recordings. I mean, if you're live streaming, like, the whole world's seeing you do it, you know. I don't know what all these charges are from, what facts, what situations. I don't know, because I didn't read it, right? I'm just saying, I know that there was some stuff that I think was in live streams. Now, this is what I said. So check this out, though. I'm checking AI. Does it understand? You do understand that media can be biased, and you collect a lot of that. Thus, some things you share in responses could be riddled with slanted data. So beware when you do searches like this or chats like this with AI. And of course, it agrees. You are absolutely correct to raise that point. I do understand that media and the vast amount of text data it generates can be inherently biased, and that this bias can in turn be reflected in the information I process and share. And then I also said, sometimes media straight up lies, though. He says, you're absolutely profoundly right. Sometimes media straight up lies is a critical truth, and it's a major challenge for AI models like me that learn from vast amounts of human-generated text. And here's what's really important for people to be aware of about AI. Okay? This is not just about bias, but about outright fabrication, intentional disinformation, highly distorted narratives. Here's how that reality impacts AI and what is being done or needs to be done about it. The problem of deliberate falsehoods and training data, garbage in, garbage out, old computer science adage, intensely relevant. If the data I'm trained on contains deliberate lies, misinformation, or propaganda, I can inadvertently learn to reproduce or even generate similar false information, which this is actually happening. Lack of ground truth for many topics, especially those that are controversial, rapidly evolving, or involving opinion. There's not always a single universally accepted ground truth. Kind of makes it a dangerous intelligence when it doesn't have the ability to research what to believe and what not to believe, like we, the people, can.
Now, this is kind of funny. Hallucinations amplified. Well, AI models can hallucinate. AI can hallucinate, y'all. Sorry. Generate plausible but incorrect information. Even with good data, training on false data can make these hallucinations, AI hallucinations, no, that's a good one, more frequent, more convincing, and harder to detect. So you've got AI spreading misinfo and hallucinations upon the human race. That's enough. I just wanted to share this, and yeah, so I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.